Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to something I've been waiting ages to make. This is my first video in my beginner's guide to Dark Souls 2. Now that the PC version is out, I can start making videos on this amazing game. The first video will be on the class choices when you start a new game. So without further ado, let's get this started. When you start a new game in Dark Souls 2, you are posed with a choice of 8 different classes, all varying with their starting equipment and stats. Now your class choice only really affects the early game, as when you get a few levels, let's say 10 or 20, you start putting points into skills and getting better gear, and the class choice becomes near redundant. So the class choice is really a question on how easy or hard you want your early game to be. Now all classes are good in their own right, but some are more suited to new players who are taking their first steps into the Dark Souls series. The first choice is the Warrior. This class is your Johnny template of RPGs. Skilled with a sword, a little bit tanky, and doesn't have enough equipment weight to make you move slower. This is a great starting class for beginners who haven't got a lot of experience with Dark Souls before. You'll be tanky enough to take a few hits without being punished, and you'll deal enough damage that the early game enemies shouldn't trouble you too much. The next class is the Knight. The Knight is basically an extension of the Warrior in the tanky sense. This class starts with the highest HP of all classes, and thus is the tank class. This is another great class for beginners, as you can take plenty of hits before going down, and you deal plenty of damage with your starting sword. But be careful, for this class doesn't come with a shield, and you won't find your first one until a bit into the game. Next up is the Swordsman. This is taking the Warrior class the opposite way of the Knight, where speed and movement is key. This class was meant as an example for the new dual wielding mechanics of the game, as they spawn with 2 swords. I wouldn't really recommend this class for beginners, as it relies too much on rolling and evading, and since they've made dodging attacks harder in this game, choosing the Swordsman will make your beginning harder than it should be for beginners. The Bandit is the next class choice. Here is another great all-round class for beginners. Where the Warrior is skilled with a sword, the Bandit is aimed towards players who want to use a bow, as they spawn with a bow, but this doesn't mean they can't use a weapon. They also spawn with a hand axe, a great weapon for early game. This class is another good choice for beginners. The next class choice is the Cleric. This class choice is a lot like the Bandit, where they were designed to use the bow. The Cleric is a starting point for people who want to use miracles. Miracles are a type of spell in Dark Souls, and with the Cleric you spawn with the Miracle Heal, which does just what it says. The Cleric is a great choice for beginners, as you start off with 3 different ways to heal yourself, so you shouldn't really run out of healing before you find another bonfire. The Sorcerer is next, and like the Cleric is for miracles, the Sorcerer is made for sorceries, another form of spells in Dark Souls. But unlike the Cleric, which is a good choice for beginners, the Sorcerer isn't. Yes, you spawn with the sorcery Soul Arrow, which does a lot of damage, but the spell only has a certain amount of uses, and to replenish them you either have to use a bonfire or use a certain item. And on top of that, if the enemies get too close, you only have a measly dagger to protect yourself, and without a lot of health, you go down pretty quick. Next up is the Explorer. Now, when I said the other classes are well rounded, they have nothing on the Explorer. The Explorer is not overly skilled in anything, but you're not lacking in anything either. And on top of that, the game starts this class off with a ton of useful items. In my mind, the Explorer is one of the best class choices for beginners, with a great all-round skill set and a lot of useful items to start off with. And lastly, there is the Deprived. Beginners, don't choose this class. The Deprived starts off with no items or weapons, and has no levels, where all the other classes start around level 10. The Deprived is only meant for people who like pain, or people using it to make a later game build work. Again, beginners, don't pick this class. And that's all the classes. I hope you enjoyed the video. My next beginner's guide should be out in the week, and it will be on the stats in Dark Souls 2. If you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like, and I'd like to thank you all for watching, and goodbye!